You may know Victor and Jalen here for their work on the court, but as the title of the panel says, the modern athlete is so much more than that. So I think today we're hoping to talk a little bit about the evolution of the modern athlete and going from an athlete to an entrepreneur. So thank you for joining us. To kick things off, when you hear the term modern athlete, what does that mean to you? Victor, if you want to start.
It's so hard to say now. I feel like, it changes every day, changes every year, changes every week, honestly.
Yeah.
I guess before, maybe years ago, a modern athlete would just wake up every day, go play their sport, come back, do it again the next day. Now, after being in the space for 6 years, a modern day athlete does way more. And you have a newfound respect for your parents and people who were older than you growing up, because all you really wanted to do was just play basketball or play football or whatever the sport may be. But now there's so much that goes into that, paying bills, taking care of people, and at the same time being at the top of your game. So it's kind of unique because everything changes. My dad told me one time that imagine if the people who first invented the airplane, after it flew for the first time, didn't work on it ever again. We wouldn't be going very far.
No, we wouldn't.
So it changes, and you have to change with time, or you'll essentially get left behind.
Yeah, and I want to go back to some of that, but Jalen, what's your reaction to the term?
To be honest, I don't even think anybody here can really answer that question. Like, what is the modern athlete? I don't really know how to answer that question. It's changed so much, and I think we stand on the shoulders of like the players and stuff that's came before us. So Bill mentioned in the interview too before this one, he was like, evolution is the name of the game. I think that the athlete has evolved so much over the last 10 years, over the last 20 years. We can't really even pinpoint something because it's still ever changing, right? So we got athletes who are singers, musicians right here, athletes who do venture capitalism like Andre, or athletes who are doing fashion or politics and stuff like that. So, it's changing. It has changed so much.
Yeah, and I think that key term, evolution, I think it always will be changing. But as your career has progressed, the roles of those around you have progressed as well and changed. I want to talk about sort of the role of the agent for a moment here. Victor, you recently hired a new agent. Want to hear about why that sort of decision? And then Jalen, on the other side of that, you've chosen not to have an agent. And so why is that choice sort of right for you?
Let me go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
For me, it was I went through the process of trying to find somebody to like represent me, like your agency, and I was having a hard time, something clicking. Like they were saying, like, we want to move you to this place and that place, want to work out, and like I didn't really need any of that stuff. Like I like where I was at. Yeah. I was at Cal at the time. I was at Berkeley. I got good weather. Still finishing school. I'm working at the university for free. I got my trainer already. So I'm just training for the draft. If anything, I need like some marketing to get my name out there more, because nobody watched me play because I played on the West Coast. Everybody on the East Coast is asleep. So if anything, that's what I needed. But I didn't need everything that they had. They were trying to like, we'll get you this. We'll get you a house, we'll get you a car, we'll get you a girlfriend. I'm like, man, I'm cool. I'm good. So that was kind of my mindset of it when I started. And it was stuff that I learned on my own that I probably could have had somebody help me, because there was some stuff that I learned that I needed to learn. And the fact that I learned it on my own, like I understand it now. I can teach it to others. Like sometimes, and sometimes you have good agents who teach their players some of that stuff, so I don't knock, like having an agent is a bad thing or a good thing. It's just to each his own. Yeah. Like for me, I learned those stuff on my own, but to other players, you might have a good agent who will teach you along the way and things like that. I just happen to have to go through some of those bruises by myself.
You're not the only one. You're not the only one. The thing, see, I had to learn the hard way. I learned the hard way,
yeah.
Sure. This is probably my fourth agent, and I started with a boutique. I did the big agency. I did no agent. And I had to learn the hard way. It just wasn't for me. The whole spectrum of being with a big agent, they can do this for you, they can do that for you. we gonna turn you into this player. They love that. They love that. They're gonna turn you into the next D Wade. They can turn you into the next. In reality, it's all flawed. At the end of the day, the players make the agent. The agents don't make the players. And I had to learn that the hard way. For me, I picked my current agent because he had the same mindset that I had. See, at the end of the day, I play this game because I want to be the best at it. I don't play it to be mediocre. If that was the case, there's no need for me to play it. So my 6 years in the league, no one else had that mindset until I met my current guy that I just started with him like this summer. And it just seemed like ever since I got hurt, everything's just been clicking for me. And when I met him, he just was on the same page. He would do the necessary things in order to help me get to where I wanted to be. And a lot of times, I mean, we're in a space, basketball is like a soap opera now. Let's be honest. I mean, it's kind of like a soap opera now. And all I'm kind of focused on is trying to be the best. And I know he's the same way. That's why we kind of relate. We knew we had a relationship before this. And wanted my agent to have the same mindset. That's why I went with him.
Yeah, I think that's rare to find. So I think that's lucky. Talking about some of the stuff that maybe the agent's helping with or you're doing on your own, you have a wide range of interests, ranging from fashion to content to tech. Tell us a little bit about that. Like, what are some of the projects that you're excited that you're working on right now in those spaces?
A little bit of everything. I mean, I do music, as Jalen said, and
It's good to go listen. Pretty good.
I have 2 albums out, and the last album I put out kind of like solidified me as an artist. So it's kind of funny, like when other artists are in the room, they're like, "Oh yeah, I listen to your music," and it's kind of cool when it's like Usher or somebody like that who you grew up listening to. So that's pretty dynamic. But I just got into this space. This is my first time here, my first year here. But I've known Rudy since I was 13. So I've always wanted to come out here, but let's be real. When you hear about something like this, you sometimes get intimidated as an athlete. But then I slowly but surely watch other players do it, from Andre to John, who's in here, to JaVale, who's in here, to other Jalen, who's done it for 3 years. And you slowly start seeing, like, you might want to chime in before you get left behind.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So from there on, I mean, I've invested in Beyond Meat. I've invested in Overtime. I've invested in Genies. And me and my doctor right there, who actually did the surgery on my knee, has a startup that bridges the gap between healthcare and athletes, and trying to get everyone on the same page, I guess you would say. So it's been fun, man. It's been fun. We're more than athletes now, so you have no choice but to dive into this space because this is becoming a part of our world.
Yeah. I want to hear a little bit more about that startup off stage, but also on the Beyond Meats one, it's a big one in San Francisco. Nobody eats anything in San Francisco unless it's, organic this or organic that. But like, how did you get involved in that specific one? Just curious how that one came about.
Well, about 2 years ago, before I got traded to the Indiana Pacers, I was about 230. And I had this like transformation summer where I lost 20 pounds, leading into my 5th year in the league. Obviously, after that, I had a breakout year. And it was all due to health. And let's be real, when I first got in the league, I was very happy. I was eating steaks, burgers, fries. I mean, you can go to room service and get whatever you want. Come on, guys. I know you guys know what I'm talking about. So, I mean, I was eating every and anything. And then I had to realize that in order to maximize my talent and exhaust my potential, that I was going to have to take care of my body, including what I eat every day. So I slowly but surely started being more veganized, I guess you can say. And then, I started taking it really seriously because at the end of the day, I want to live long. So, and then, I got in touch with Ethan Brown, who obviously is the head of the CEO of
What?
Beyond Meat.
Beyond Meat? Yeah.
Oh, wow. You all right? You good?
Yeah.
I thought you was cutting me off. You
Nah,
got, all right.
I didn't know you was vegan.
Oh.
I didn't know you was vegan.
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations, brother.
You vegan?
No, I'm not vegan.
Why not?
I can't give up.
I'll talk to you about that after the jump. But it's been cool. Like I've been saying, it's been cool, and it kind of seems like you just got to get lucky, honestly. And I guess I was one of the lucky ones.
Yeah, but put in work to get there.
Exactly.
Jalen, similarly, your interest in fashion, content, education in particular. Talk to us about why those areas. What are you sort of most excited about? What do you want this audience to take away about your work in those spaces?
I guess I kind of started with technology in college. I interned at a VC, Base Ventures, here in the Bay. I went to school at Berkeley, which is like right around the corner. Go Bears for whoever's in there. Yeah, so
There's a lot of y'all.
it's a lot of us.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's kind of how I got started, and I haven't really looked back since. I kind of just been, building an understanding of what's going on in this space, trying to build a foundation and stuff like that. And the last few years have been like really monumental for me and things like that. So I'm looking to put together my team and stuff like that, and towards going forward with that. But that's kind of how I got started in this space, and just having like a multiple means of influence. People who make significant changes always come from outside of different fields. You know what I mean? And there's numerous examples of those things. So I'm just trying to inform myself as much as possible before I start making my moves.
Yeah. And Victor mentioned this, first time here. You were here last year. In fact, we were sitting on stage, different building, similar conversation. What's something that you sort of took away from last year and kind of carried with you for the last 12 months?
So last year I was on the panel with AI, and speaking with him, he's kind of like the OG, the space. Like, it's different. It's a difference between, throwing money at something and being respected in this field. And I think AI has created a lot of respect from others that are around us and other athletes as well. So just being on a panel with him was great for me, and learning from him and seeing, kind of the stuff that he's doing in the VC firm. And this is kind of the stuff that he helped put together. Like, he was one of the first, NBA players and one of the catalysts to starting this whole thing. So I'm paying homage to him, because like the new athlete, the modern athlete, what we speak of is, is evolving. Like, we started 20 years ago, 30 years ago with these type of players, and now is a whole new ball game. So we're gonna keep the ball rolling, no pun intended, and just keep trying to build on it until we get to where we want to be.
Yeah. So fascinating stuff, but it takes a lot of time. You're talking about building a team, getting educated. You're making albums. You're thinking about investments. How do you balance the demands of that? Like, you're trying to be at the top of your game at the biggest stage in the world, and then also build a brand, build a business for yourself. Like, how do you balance those demands? How do you balance that pressure?
Honestly, at first I didn't want to. I'm gonna be 100. I just wanted to hoop. I would just focus on being the best at that. Like, I felt like if I took time off, that I'd be taken away from my growth in the game. When in reality, there's so much more to that. And the bests in our game today, they do both.
Yeah.
So, and they do both at a high level. So if I wanted to get there, I was going to have to find a way to balance all those things out. So you just got to be smart with your time in a day. It's only 24 hours, but you can get a lot done. And most of us, we spend 4 to 5 hours on our phones anyway. So if you cut that 3 hours down, you could do a lot in those 3 hours. So you just got to be smart, man. You got to be smart. And you got to want to be different. Yeah, you got to want it in anything that you do.
Go ahead. Oh, when did that mentality change? So if you didn't want to at start, like, was there a moment, or when did that change?
Honestly, for me, I'm gonna be 100 with you. I would say it was starting to change the second time I got traded. Because when you get traded twice in a year, in our sport, I guess you can say the media kind of is. It doesn't make it a good thing. Let's just put it like that. In the simplest of terms, it doesn't make it a good thing. So I was questioning myself. I'm not gonna lie to you. Myself as an athlete, myself as a person. Like, the goals that you have for this game, is it realistic? Maybe you should start adding more to this puzzle. And slowly but surely I did, and I still, by God's grace, still had a breakout year. And then boom, I get hurt. And if it wasn't for me getting hurt, I probably wouldn't even be sitting up here on stage. It has opened my eyes to so many things, and it's so much more to this world than the lens I was looking in before. So my eyes are definitely open.
Jalen, what about you? Sort of how do you balance all of this that you're trying to do?
I think I had to understand that at a young age, and I probably credit my mom who's sitting in the back.
Yeah, Mom.
Over there. Shout out to moms. But Brandon is everything. And like you look at Apple, I don't think people pay for the products. I don't think they got the best products on the line. I think you pay for the brand. So understanding that, is key. And I think I've understood that since I stepped foot on any basketball floor.
Yeah. And what about, just curious, like you spent a little bit of time at Cal. Like how did that prepare? You interned during that. Like how did you use that time to maybe prepare you as well for the transition and now what you're doing here?
I don't think Cal is really, I wouldn't consider it a basketball school. And their record last year would probably.
You made it a basketball school.
Right. I mean, people still wouldn't consider it a basketball school. I think they won 2 games last year. So Cal is known for being like more diverse, having, being in Silicon Valley or being close to it and having like these world changers and things like that. So that's what kind of attracted me to it because I don't want to just do something. I want to do something that's going to change lives.
Yeah.
Right. So I wanted to align myself with a place like California, Berkeley, which was great. Some of the stuff I learned in 1 year, I'm still like seeing benefits from 4 years later. Like I gave a whole speech at Harvard that based off of 1 year, one class I took at Berkeley, and the people at Harvard were going crazy. And I'm like, man, I was there for 1 year. Berkeley is such a great school to align with, and I learned a lot of stuff there just about outside of the sport of basketball that I'll probably take with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah. We're going to open it up to 1 or 2 questions in a moment here. So if you're thinking of any, be ready. But both of yourselves as avid, we just talked about school, as avid learners, of the game, of, sort of everything outside of the court as well. Who do you look up to? Who do you read? Like, are there CEOs, are there founders, are there other athletes that you follow and are consistently trying to learn from as you evolve?
I'll start with some athletes and some non-athletes that I follow. I think LeBron has done a great job using his platform as well. I think Vic can speak on that. I like what AI has done in terms of like creating these spaces for athletes that are, unconventional. But my 2 favorite is probably Reginald Lewis. He's probably maybe some people who know like history would know who that is. He was like the first African American to create a $1 billion company. And Robert Smith, what he just did at Morehouse. So people who don't know Robert Smith, he's a billionaire, but he just paid off everybody's student loans for the whole 2019 class. That's crazy. So those are 2 that I kind of follow and look up to, and we probably got the similar. But those are some names that I kind of keep up with.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as athletes, man, I've been blessed to play with some very smart individuals. One of them being Thad Young, who's sitting over there, who I played with last year. And I remember sitting in the back of the bus with Thad, and he just rapping about this tech world. And I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? We got to play a game, bro. What are you talking about? And then as I got hurt and my eyes were open and I realized what he was talking about, I remember I seen him here and I was like, man, I wish I would have listened a little bit more before. But, I mean, guys are paving the way for us. I mean, I think me and Jalen might be the youngest guys in this room. So it's just so much knowledge and so much things to soak up. And that's what I'm trying to be. I'm trying to be a sponge from the LeBrons and the Steph Currys and the 2 gentlemen he named as well. So there's always room to grow. There's always room to learn. Yeah. Even in here, no matter where you're at, no matter what space you are in your world, there's always room to grow. That's what I'm trying to do.
Biggest room in the world, it's a room for improvement.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah, you got to keep learning.
I like that.
On Instagram for sure.
All right, maybe 1 or 2 questions here. I think we got one right here.
Speaking of the 4 or 5 hours on your phone every day, what are your social media habits? Do you guys look at your mentions? How often are you on NBA Twitter? Are you watching Woj all day long? What is it like, being in your shoes?
Social media is a monster. It's like a glass half full, half empty kind of thing. The way you look at it and the way you use it, it can be like the greatest tool to connect and use your means of influence to combine and leverage all different types of stuff. It's a lot of business deals that I got through social media. Yeah. So that shows the world has changed post-internet age. And everything is a million different ways to skin a cat. You know, so social media has helped with that. You know, a lot of people, influencers, their job is social media. And it's kind of weird to explain, but that's where the world is kind of moving. But, you know, it's also the other side to that. It's a duality to it that social media can be used for bad habits too, because it almost know you better than you know yourself. Like stuff is popping up on there, food and all different type of stuff be popping up on my social media. I'm like, where does this come from? But it's a monster for sure.
I think they got it to where, like, if you say something, then the ad for it is going to pop up 30 minutes later for sure.
Absolutely.
Because if you say something, or I'm thinking about, like, phones, I'll see an ad for phones, I'm like, oh, man, y'all got something brewing, I'm telling you.
Yeah, so when I start seeing that, I toss my phone. I was like, what is going on? Because they trying to get you, for sure.
Well, I think we could be up here for the rest of the afternoon, but unfortunately we got to keep it moving. But really appreciate it. Thank you both. I'm gonna make a quick announcement, but let's say a round of applause and thank you for it.